Hi everybody, welcome back to Making Stuff with Mrs. Baroody. I'm Mrs. Baroody, and today we're going to make gingerbread houses, but not real ones. We're going to use boxes, okay? So before we start, you'll need a box. Doesn't matter what size it is, could be any box that you have in your house. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of examples of what I did. I'm also not going to tell you what materials to use because I'm going to show you some examples in the video as well. All right, so when you're all done, you'll have a non-edible, but still fantastic gingerbread house to have out at Christmas time. Or if you celebrate another holiday, you can just make a fun little house. Okay, let's get started. All right, my friends, so we are going to get started on making our gingerbread house. And before I show you one technique, I want to show you some of the examples that I made and give you some ideas. So if you don't want to do what I'm going to do, you have some options, okay? So again, you just need a box. It could be any size box. Maybe you have a giant box and you want to make a life-size gingerbread house. It's going to take a while. Go for it. Maybe all you have is a tiny jewelry box. That's fine too. I would say make sure that's cardboard and make sure nobody wants it before you start gluing and painting and coloring, okay? So my little box here, this is the front, and I made it look like there were some lollipops next to the door and maybe some gumdrops. And then on the side, I made a little tree and a cool little window, and all of this is just some permanent markers. That's it. I used a pencil to draw things on first in case I made a mistake, and then I colored them with marker. Another option you have is you could glue paper on it. So if you have some construction paper at home or scrapbook paper that has some patterns, you could totally do that. So I tried to make it similar so you could kind of see the difference. I could have put a little lollipop there for sure. But this, all I did was I used tape. So you can see I drew the window on, and then all I did was put tape on the back, and I taped everything together. And then this side, I just put blue, and I put a little triangle-y Christmas tree. I tried to be creative with how I made the pine needles. Okay, so one option you have, you could use markers to color your house, and you don't even have to do the roof if you don't want to. Or you could use construction paper. Another option is paint. So for this one, the one that I showed you at the beginning of the video, I painted. So this is really up close. So this is my door and my little gumdrops. I did use some sparkly paint, but it's kind of hard to see on my video. And this is just sort of like a shoebox shape that I had lying around. So you could totally use a shoebox, or you could use a blank box like this. So again, I made some peppermint candy, some gumdrops. On this side, I made a wreath. I thought that would look nice. On the back, I used some shiny coppery paint. I made some candy canes. And for this one, I did do the roof. I made them look like you were looking down on some gumdrops, okay? And I didn't modify the box at all. I just put it together and I painted it. Same thing with the other one. Now, let's say at home you have a box, but it's got stuff on it. Because most of them do, right? Especially if you get it from Amazon or something. So maybe you have some words and stuff on the outside. This is where we get my doggy food from. So if you have words and stuff on the outside, you can take your box apart and turn it inside out and put it back together, and then you have that lovely blank part. And this part, the one with the words, is inside that no one's ever gonna see, okay? So for my gingerbread house, I'm gonna build it like I was making it out of gingerbread crackers, right? So if we're doing gingerbread or graham crackers, we need frosting to hold everything together. For me, I'm gonna use hot glue. Now again, you don't have to do this. You could just take a box, and if you want to cover it with paper, you don't even have to worry about taking it apart, right? To cover up the words, the paper would cover the words up. So if you want to keep it simple, color it, put paper on it, just paint it the way it is, you can. But I'm going to put mine together like a real gingerbread house. So I took a box and I cut it apart. So you can see I took all the tops and bottoms off. And then I measured with my ruler and cut them down into pieces. So I have two side walls, I have a front wall, and I have a back wall, and then I have the roof pieces, okay? I'm gonna show you how I put this together and how I make the roof, and then from there, you can decorate it any way you want to. But again, you don't have to put it together like I'm going to. If you wanna pause the video now and you wanna make it out of a box, you can make it out of a box and not worry about putting it together, all right? So let's get started. Okay, friends, so the first thing I'm gonna start with are my walls, because I need those before I can put the roof on. And you can see when I cut them, things got a little jaggedy, so those ones aren't perfectly straight. So I'm gonna use the perfectly straight parts. Those are gonna be the bottom part of my walls, all right? The wiggly squiggly part, not super worried about. What I am worried about is making sure that the word things, and if there's like little pieces of tape, that part's on the inside of my house. So before I glue, I like to lay it all out and make sure that it's lined up the way it should be. And it looks like it is. So I think that's the outside, so that's gonna go there like this. Are we expecting it to be perfect? No, because when you make a gingerbread house with frosting and stuff, it's not perfect. Now I got this really heavy duty, awesome glue gun that I'm gonna use to stick this together. If you don't have a glue gun, you could use Elmer's glue, but a lot like frosting, you're gonna have to wait a very long time for it to dry. You could also use tape and put tape on the inside of your house to stick it all together. No one's ever gonna see it, so it's all good. One thing you wanna be careful about, and this gets messed up, even I messed up sometimes. When I glue, I'm gonna take the front of my house and I'm gonna glue it onto the sidewall. See how I did that? Glue it onto the sidewall. So then when it stands up, it looks like this and it's a nice straight side. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one and glue it onto the front like this. If I do it and make them opposite, you're gonna have a crookedy house, which if you want, go for it, man. So I'm gonna put some glue on my wall. Hopefully my hot glue gun is hot enough. Ooh, it looks like it is. So does it matter if I get a little too much glue? No, that's all right. I'd rather have a little too much glue than not enough. And if you are using a glue gun, oh, for the love of toast, please be careful. Please, please, please don't burn yourself. I always like to have a little cup of water handy just in case I do. And my hot glue gun has 2 temperatures, so I can make it really, really hot or maybe not so hot. And I always make sure that it's over something, because if this drips on my nice table, I will be upset. All right, so that looks pretty solid, not totally dry, but that's okay. Now for this one over here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna put glue on the edge of the wall. It's gonna stick to the front. Make sure I have enough glue. And again, not going for perfect, just want it to be sturdy and stuck together. So again, if you're using Elmer's glue, you're gonna have to sit there for a while, holding it, make sure it's dry enough to let go. And then before you start decorating, you wanna make sure it's totally solid. And because this isn't gonna have a bottom on it, you could always flip your house upside down and do some reinforcing glue on the inside, or maybe even some tape kind of in here on that front part. Now for this one, this is where things get tricky, because I'm actually gonna kind of slide that in there like this. So I'm gonna put glue on the edge of this. I'm only gonna put it, oh, I should probably show you, silly Mrs. Baroody. I could see it, but you couldn't. I'm gonna put some glue on the edge here. I'm not gonna worry about that other side right now, okay? Slide it in. Okay, make sure it's stuck. Okay, I'm gonna give this a good couple of minutes to dry, really harden, and then I will show you the next part. All right, so now my house is pretty dry, it's pretty sturdy. I've tipped it on its side, and now I'm gonna put glue along this edge so that I can finish gluing that last wall on. So I'm gonna put glue on this edge. I'm actually gonna turn my hot glue gun down. It's getting a little toasty, steamy, and then I'm gonna smush it right there. Again, sound effects always help when gluing. And this one I want to hold and make sure it's really sturdy and dry before I let go. You can see it was starting to want to poke back into the inside of the house. All right, so I'm gonna wait for this to dry, and then we'll start on the roof. All right, guys, so this is my base for my house. I did end up putting a little bit of glue on the inside to reinforce, just to make sure that it stays pretty sturdy. And now it's not gonna wiggle and jiggle on me. So we have our 4 walls. Now this one doesn't look quite as pretty as that one, I don't think. So maybe this would be the back of my house, or this would be the front of my house. Maybe this is the front of my house. I haven't decided yet. But I think we'll start on our roof and go from there. So I'm gonna move him out of the way. These are my 2 roof pieces. And I can tell this is the cut side because it's a little wonky. This is the side that's just made by the box company. So I know it's gonna be a little straighter than mine. So what I like to do for this, before I start gluing anything, I'm gonna put these 2 halves together, and I'm gonna use a little tape to tape them together, so then I'm not trying to juggle, 20,000 things when I'm trying to glue them on. So I'm going to use masking tape. And just a real quick recap on, some people have trouble ripping masking tape. They like to take the tape and try and pull it. Ooh, look what happened. I made a mess. Everything went everywhere. It ripped, but not very well. So now I'm going to show you the right way to rip tape. We take our tape, pull off the part that we want. We pinch with our finger and our thumb. We pinch with our finger and our thumb, and we rip in opposite directions. Okay, so again, pinch with my finger and thumb, pinch with my finger and thumb, rip in opposite directions, and then I have a nice piece of tape, and I didn't knock anything off my table. So I'm going to go right up to the edge. Again, does it have to be perfect? Nope. Just do your best. I'm going to make sure that the whole thing is taped up nicely. Okay, it's not perfect. It's still floppy, but it's going to hold together when I'm putting it on the house. So now, with our house, I'm going to turn it this way so you can kind of see what's going on. We're going to end up putting our roof on like this, so it overlaps a little bit. I could stick it on like this, but I don't think that's as interesting as this. So let's brainstorm. I'm putting a straight thing onto an angle, and I have to glue it. What do you think I should do before I glue? I think I should put a little bit of tape on the inside of my house. That's going to help it stay, and then I can work on gluing it. So I'm going to turn my house on its side, and this is my roof right there. So I'm going to take a piece of tape, okay, and I'm going to put the tape on the inside, and I'll show you guys in a minute. I'm just going to put a couple pieces of tape there to kind of hold it in place for me while I glue it. So you see how I did that? Just put a couple pieces of tape in there. So now, when I glue it, it will kind of stay in place a little bit. So I'm going to turn it because that's going to help me. And I'm going to put glue right along this border in here. And then I'm going to have to hold it for a minute to make sure it dries. You guys using Elmer's glue, again, you're probably going to have to hold it for quite some time. So I'm putting glue. This is not a time to skimp on glue. Use as much as you want. Can't have too much glue. All the way to the edge. Okay, now I'm going to hold it in place, the angle that I want it, and wait for it to dry, which is boring. So I'll meet you guys back here in a minute when it's dry, and I'll show you the other side. Alrighty, so this side's pretty sturdy. I put that glue along this edge, and now I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I'm not going to put any tape in there because this side's nice and sturdy. That angle's been taped, so all I really have to do is hold this in place of where I want it, and then add my glue. Now my glue gun has this little stand here that I can click back so it's out of my way, which is super fantastic. And then I can really just shove this in there and put in some glue. Again, can't have too much glue at this point. No one's gonna see in there. Someone's putting your house upside down to look at the angle and stuff. They need to have better things to do, right guys? My goodness. So no one's ever going to see it from this angle again. So no one's going to see how much glue you used or how yucky it looks or anything. So again, I'm going to hold this in place for a few minutes, let it dry. Boring. And then I'll be back to show you guys some more tricks. Okay guys, I have my gingerbread house, or at least the base of it anyway. I have a front, I have a side, I have a back, I have another side, and I have this awesome, fantastic roof. Now, you can leave it as is and start decorating this bad boy. But as you can see, I can see inside and see all the little things that I've done. So I want to make a shape to cover this up. So I'm going to make a triangle shape. And I'm not just going to guess, I'm going to measure. Now I'm not going to use a ruler for this. I'm actually going to use my house to do the measuring. I need a triangle that fits over the edges of the roof so I can glue it down and comes over this just a little bit. So I'm going to take another piece of my cardboard and I'm going to line up the cardboard so that it overlaps a little bit on this part. So I'm not going to put it here. I need something to glue to. I'm going to make sure it overlaps a little bit. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to put my cardboard on the table, and because I can see through my roof, see how you can see the cardboard through that? I'm going to take my house, I'm going to slide it down until I see the edge, and then bring it back up a little bit so I know it's covering it up. Then I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to trace along my edges. So I'm going to trace along that side. I wonder if I can do this with my left hand. Ooh, awesome. And now I have a triangle. And then I'm going to cut that bad boy out. You can use scissors, but I'm a grown-up sometimes. And I'm going to use a sharp knife to cut mine out. So I'm going to make sure that I put something underneath it. So again, not ruining my fancy table. And then I would take my sharp knife, being very careful, and I'm going to cut. And I'm going to cut. And when I'm done, through the magic of the internet, I have 2 triangle pieces because I have a front and a back to my house. So again, I'm going to use some hot glue. Probably one of my favorite glues to use because it dries pretty quickly. Again, if you're using Elmer's, just make sure the rest of yours is nice and dry before you start gluing. So I'm going to put glue on the house because that's easier than trying to glue on the triangle and smush it down before it dries or before I burn myself. So again, not too worried about too much glue because I could always glue stuff on top of this and cover it up. No one would see it. Look at the mad skills. I'm stopping here because this is where the roof is going to be, the front of the roof. Okay. And then I stick my triangle down. Oh, I stick my triangle. Oh, that one goes on the other side, Mrs. Baroody. Oh, no. Look what I did. I dropped it. Sugar, honey. Oh, I cut them both the wrong way, Mrs. Baroody. Now my words are on the outside. Well, I guess I'll be painting this one, won't I? So again, that's a good tip. Make sure that you are cutting it the right way so your words end up on the inside. That's all right. I'm doing my best. It's okay that it's a little bit messy. It's supposed to be for fun and a grade, but mine's just for fun. All right, so before I glue it down, let's see if this is the right way. I think so. Oh, this one is good, but now I got glue on this side, of course. Oh my goodness. All right, gluey glue glue. More gluey glue glue. Can we just talk about how straight that glue was? Man, at least I got something right. A little more glue. All right, let's glue this hot mess down now. There we go. Pressing it onto the glue, making sure, oh, hitting my iPad. Guys, I am a hot mess today. My goodness. Should have had some more coffee. All right, so now we have our house. Ignore that part. So I think I'll make this the front of my house. That will probably be a little easier to cover up. I can always peel off some of the hot glue when it dries, so no worries. Okay, so this is my house. At this point, again, you could paint it like I did this one. That would be totally cool. You could put paper on top of it, especially if you made a mistake like I did. So I could take my construction paper and put it on top of there. Think about other things you have at your house. Maybe you have a tube. This could be a chimney for my house, although I might be done gluing today. You could use popsicle sticks. I might have taken some from school for another project for another class, so I have some popsicle sticks. I have these cool straws. They're like boba tea straws that I got at the Asian food market in Ithaca. I have a bunch of these, so these could be turned into candy canes or something. This could be part of my shingles on my roof. You know what? If you're feeling really adventurous, you could even use real candy. You can't eat it because you're going to be gluing it down. But man, if you want to, go for it. After this, you can use whatever you like to decorate your gingerbread house. I just want to see it looking awesome and creative. And I want to recognize it as a gingerbread house, okay? After that, anything you guys want to do, I'm cool. Now, my current students, make sure that you are taking a picture and you're uploading it to our Google site. I'm sorry, Google Classroom. Or you're showing me during our live office hours, or you're uploading a picture to our stream. But I got to see it for a grade. Those of you that aren't my students, make sure you show it to somebody. Share it with a family friend. Maybe make it for grandma. Because maybe you guys always make gingerbread houses and you're not able to do that this year. Make a new tradition. Make her a pretend gingerbread house and drop it off at her house, okay? Whatever you guys do, make sure that you are staying safe, that you are being kind, and you are being creative. And I'll see you next time. Have fun, guys.